Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey everybody, it's Jason from Orange Time Force, and you're watching Toku Secrets Podcast.
Tokusatsu, taking the form of many shows including Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Metal Heroes. And today, a group of fans come together to review it for you as Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Toku Secrets Podcast presented by animesecrets.org. I'm your host, Nathan Desa, Boken Silver, and today we are continuing our review of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. We have the whole crew on here again. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, Pat, shaking right here.
Hey, Rizwan, Gokai Red, and dear God, I'm still happy this is not Geku Ranger.
I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Kyoryu Green. And I just turned 31 yesterday.
And Patrick turned 30-something today.
32.
32, yeah.
Yay.
Happy birthday, Patrick.
So, we're podcasting some of the most boring episodes ever for your birthday, this celebration.
Maybe we can
Sorry, buddy.
Maybe we get some laughter value out of this.
Oh, we will. I have some stuff. But,
Well, me, Nate, and Anthony were talking about one moment in particular before you joined the call. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, Patrick. I didn't realize it was your birthday. Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, I don't announce it. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so
He does not care.
When you get to 30, you kind of don't want to talk about it anymore.
as somebody who's 35, yeah, I don't care about my birthday anymore.
well, I'll note that after my next birthday because I turn 30 next year. So,
Well, you're still a youngling, so watch out for Anakin.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so anyway,
And if y'all are
younglings.
listening in and you haven't heard yet, we do have a new podcast called Jedi Squadron. If you're not listening to that, what are y'all doing?
right.
Little shameless plug for our other property.
Pretty cool plug, though.
Yeah, well.
All right, so for those back home who are listening, well, we got some good news and bad news for you guys. So the good news is our very next podcast is actually going to be a very interesting one because we're going to be covering what is not only a great story arc. In fact, I would honestly say that even today, it's probably at least a top 3 Sentai 6th Ranger introduction story arc, and it's a very big landmark in Sentai history. So the good news is, in our very next podcast, we're going to be covering that. Now, what's the bad news? The bad news is that this podcast that we're doing right now is going to be the most boring podcast we've ever done. So
We will find a way to make it entertaining for the masses, dang it.
yeah,
We must
welcome to-
entertain our darling fans.
Welcome to typical Zoo Ranger fare.
yeah. So
Still
isn't
better than
the-
Geku Ranger.
Isn't the
better than
last
Geku
time we're going to
Ranger.
be doing an episode like this?
we're
And
reviewing.
this is not the last time I'll take a jab at Geku Ranger.
You'll be doing that until the end of time.
Or until I find a new punching bag.
So we're reviewing Zyuranger episodes 11 through 16. So spoiler alert for the rest of this, all of these are filler episodes. I actually considered having us just review all of these along with the 10 episodes we reviewed in the last podcast, and I honestly really regret that I didn't do that. But here we are. So anyway, let's give a brief recap of what of last time with Zyuranger, just a general premise. So 170 million years ago, in the time of the dinosaurs, the evil witch Bandora and her gang of monsters were attempting to destroy the dinosaur race, and she was sealed away on the planet Nemesis by the great Daijujin, the great beast god. But then, in the present day, she is released by 2 unsuspecting astronauts and prepares to reconquer Earth. A powerful wizard from the past named Barza revives the 5 Zyurangers, who are warriors from 5 different tribes that were chosen to fight Bandora. They were put into stasis in case Bandora would return. Those 5 include Geki, the brave Tyranno Ranger, Goshi, the stoic and intelligent Mammoth Ranger, Don, the courageous but brash Tricera Ranger, Boy, the young and optimistic Tiger Ranger, and May, the sweet and gentle Terra Ranger. And together they are Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. They are armed with the legendary weapons, and they have the assistance of their guardian beasts, giant dinosaur demigods that all combine to form Daijujin, and they defend the world against Bandora. And the big thing is that in the last 2 episodes that we reviewed, a 2-parter, it was revealed that there were 2 dinosaur eggs, 1 male and 1 female, that were birthed to help revive the dinosaur race, but the eggs were lost in battle against Bandora. But it's important to note that the end of the episode showed that the eggs are still intact, and unfortunately, that's going to be a recurring plot element. But if there's one good thing about this batch of episodes, they're not going to show up in these episodes. So let's at least take some solace in that. All right, let's jump into our first filler episode, My Master. This doesn't really, none of the main Zyurangers really play a part in this. It's an episode where Totpad and Bookback find a magic lamp that has a genie called the Djinn, who becomes a target of Bandora when the lamp gets found by a group of children, and it's basically just I don't know, it's just standard episode. The genie gets captured, and he's not actually a bad monster. He's just being used for bad, and then he befriends a group of children, and blah, blah, blah. I just talked for quite a bit, so anybody want to take the first jabs at this episode?
For the jabs.
Does anyone have, Does anyone want to go first? I'm guessing not, so I will give the controversial.
Yeah, I was about to say you go.
I'll go first.
You're gonna go first? Go for it.
Yeah. Where do I begin?
Where do you
Again, with the children. With the children. Why did they have to involve more children in this? I get it. Yeah, I get it. This is for kids. I understand that. But at the same time, it's like this could have been an easily thing to kind of like not only build up the Zyurangers characters more, but they could have argued, say, hey, like, what if we wish for something that, could just wish away Bandora to go away forever? They'd be like, no, we shouldn't be wasting wishes like that because that could tip the balance of whatever. And if we get rid of Bandora this easily, then something else could be far worse could come out. And it's like a monkey's fault thing. I mean, it wasn't really that premise of the episode, but it could happen. You never know. But honestly, it was just meh to me.
Yeah,
I wish the premise was a lot better.
Give me something of substance here. Please.
I thought Djinn was
So,
honestly, I did not care about this.
Y'all ready for my hot take?
Go for it.
This is actually one of the better episodes in the batch we watched.
You know what's the horrible thing about that is that you're not wrong.
No, like
that's
out of the 6 episodes we watched, this would be my favorite. And genuinely, like not even just talking about these 6. Of everything I've seen in Zyuranger so far, this is probably one of my favorite episodes that have come out of it. Like,
well, because it was actually different with the villain not actually being a villain per se.
Yeah, it was interesting. It gave us something.
Yeah.
And I gotta give credit where credit's due for that. I get it, Anthony. I really get it. We don't like the kids. The kids are weird. They're annoying. They're not adding anything to the main cast. We will all give a great rant on that at the end. But despite the kids, I thought this is kind of endearing because it made sense why the kids were involved this time. They found a lamp. The Zyurangers find the kids.
That.
What?
No, I get that. I definitely agree with you on that aspect.
Yeah, like if you're gonna use kids, this is the way you do it. I'm just saying, like, this could have been a whole lot worse, but honestly, I thought this episode was
Yeah, I
pretty
think
good.
Dejin is what made me like this episode. Like, he's I don't know, he's an entertaining monster, and I just have to ask, like, between him and Dora Sphinx, how is it that we've had two Dora monsters that are more interesting than the actual Zyurangers themselves? That's what I'm thinking.
Well, we'll
That's
cover that at
sad.
the
That's really
end
sad.
because we'll cover that rant at the end because I don't want to have a copy and paste of what Anthony just rambled in every episode
Yeah, you're
discussion we
right.
do because this will come up very often. So let's hold that till the end because we all know the elephants in the room, guys. We all know that these Sentai Rangers have no personality.
They don't.
I don't want to beat up on that every single episode. It gets boring for me to talk about.
I'm probably going to give this a
Um,
7. I think it's good. I like the Dejin. I think Dejin is an interesting monster, and that's why I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm gonna give this an 8 because it was actually good.
Despite my ramblings, I'm actually still gonna give it a 7 too, just because like I like the genie. The genie was actually the least thing I hate about this episode. So yeah,
No, I thought it was pretty forgettable, but Jin does make
Well,
it just salvage it a little bit. So I guess a 5.
Yeah.
I guess.
well, the genie had more character than the cast and made me like him a lot more than the cast.
Yeah, but I'm still
Like I
advocating
kind
that the
of
cast doesn't get anything to work with either.
this is still better than
yeah.
John.
And to be fair, like NPR's episode of this didn't do any better. So
Okay, what was the MPR equivalent of
it
this?
was a simple it was a body swap episode with Billy and Kimberly.
Oh, okay. I was looking for the. I couldn't quite remember what
I
Mighty
think the
Morphin was
monster's
related
name
to.
was the
Yeah,
Meanie
okay.
Genie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember now.
Meanie
and
Genie.
like they didn't make the genie good in this. He was completely evil. Um, when they defeat the genie, it's sent somewhere. I forgot where they sent that thing to, but yeah, it didn't really humanize the genie anyway. He was just evil from the start to finish. So, oh, and the fact that they didn't even like incorporate the magic of the genie into the switch places like the body swap episode because it was mostly Billy's machine that malfunctioned due to SWAT and Babu's interfering, and that's why they body swap those two, and then Bulk and Skull switch bodies too.
I I'm okay with that because you don't get a lot of footage you can salvage from the Sentai to bring to the American adaptation here.
I just found it boring, honestly. It was only thing I liked about it was the fact that like they did body swapping correctly when it comes
Yeah,
to Billy and Kimberly and Bulk and Skull.
looking at you, Megaforce.
'Cause they don't yeah, because they don't use let's just swap their voices too along with their bodies. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
That'd be like if me and Nate switch bodies and I have Nate's voice and he has my voice.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only two Toku episodes I've seen do that well are the Mighty Morphin episode you just mentioned and the episode where Luca and Don switch bodies in Go
That
Kaiju.
was pretty good too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you do body swapping, but for some reason Power just doesn't do it right. For some reason.
Sentai's done that before
Well,
too.
Except for Amazar.
Like Sentai did it in Kyoryu and
But the fact that Mighty Morphin Powers did it once and they did it correctly once and then they didn't do it right the next few times they do it, it's just bizarre to me. It's like
anyway, we want to move on to the next episode?
yeah, I'm down.
yeah.
All right, cool. This episode is called episode 12. It's called Papa's a Vampire. This is okay, you can't see me doing air quotes, but Dan Centric episode. Where Dan is befriending a little girl who is brainwashed into believing her father is a vampire because Hot Pat wants to drink her blood because he's a vampire and that's what vampires do. This episode is boring, and what's odd is that I didn't even find Dan that annoying or a jerk in this episode, so I can't even complain about Dan being Dan in this episode. Like, there's literally nothing to this episode, in my opinion.
I'm gonna start off by saying I am today years old when I realized Top Pat was a vampire.
Yeah, he doesn't look like it, does he?
No, like growing up, I never once considered him to be a vampire.
I mean, there's a reason why Power Rangers was able to
I
get
don't know
away
what I
with calling
considered
him a
him.
baboon.
I need it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just start there and say I never considered it. So this episode was a bit eye-opening for me in that regard.
Yeah, growing up, I always assumed that he was just similar to the flying monkeys from freaking Wizard of Oz, because they was
Well,
like, oh, she's
that's
a
what
witch.
Gryffindor is supposed to be.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this episode was extremely forgettable. Um, I don't think there was a single bit of interesting character development here. Um, the villain was also very meh. I have nothing to give here, so I'm gonna close my thoughts and let Patrick and Anthony ramble by saying this is a 5.
Honestly, this episode was just kind of boring to me, honestly. It was like, oh, yeah, I think my dad's a vampire, and I kind of want to like hit him over the head with the bat just so he won't bite me. And you're like, that's it? Yeah. Are you sure? Eh. Okay, whatever. Moving on.
Did you want to say anything, Patrick?
No.
Yeah. I'm giving this a 5 because, I mean, 5 is just my default grade if an episode just gives me nothing, but I can't think of anything bad about it. That's why I'm giving it a 5.
I'm giving it a 5 because I consider this episode average by even Sentai standards. Like, this is when you put in minimal effort, and I mean very minimal effort. When the way to get me to go below 5 is to make me mad, and I'm not mad, so can't get mad at something where I don't feel anything.
I'm also gonna give it a 5 because it, like I said, it didn't give me anything, so I can't really
Yeah.
don't really care. I will say that it's interesting how when NPR did it, they actually when they introduced the eye guy monster, they used the Sentai footage of the little girl being sucked away by the eye when they were describing what its abilities can do and blah blah blah, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of early Power Ranger episodes tended to do that, where they would use some stock footage of monsters while Zordon was describing what the monsters could do. So, yeah.
Yeah. But it kind of makes me wonder, is the little girl in the Power Rangers one, is she like just gone forever? Like, not something I really people like really care about, but it's like I kind of like now think about it. It's like, what happens to these people who they use the footage for? Like, no explanation or nothing. It's just like, oh, that character's probably dead. Oh, it's kind of dark, but okay.
Patrick, what were you going to give this episode?
The 4.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have a May-centric episode, and this time I don't think I necessarily need to put air quotes because I do think that May plays a
You
big part.
don't.
Yeah,
This is actually pretty May-centric, to be honest.
yeah. This episode is called Fire the Golden Arrow. In the episode, May gets poisoned by an apple that sends her into a deep sleep and knocks her out. And this is bad because the Zyurangers are battling a monster that only her Terra arrow can defeat. I want to start off by saying that I actually I want to start off with reviewing this. Actually, I like this episode. It's probably okay. Well, I'm debating over whether this is my favorite or the next one. But in my defense, the only reason I'm thinking that the next one might be my favorite is because it's just got so many stupid, crazy stuff in it that it actually entertains me in an ironic sort of way. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think this was genuinely entertaining. I mean, okay, the whole May being like this delicate woman who's actually a lot tougher than she looks. I mean, it's cliched, but I don't know. I mean, I just want to take what I can get. I think May was actually pretty cool. And for once, we have an episode where the child of the day plot, I think it's a bit more subdued because you could just say that the children of the day are just more children who are just affected by a monster spell. Because in previous episodes, they sometimes needed like the child of the day to help them defeat the monster. Here, May is the person who saves the day. So I want to take what I can get with this episode. Now, I do have one problem, but I'm going to let the other guys give their opinions first. But I actually really like this episode. It's probably my favorite of this batch.
Yeah, it was pretty decent too. I'll say that because it's actually like, you know, it has one of the Zyurangers actually be, you know, not I mean, yeah, it was about her obviously, but it wasn't like one of those episodes where like, you know, she has to like protect this one kid or like a, you know, another thing. It's actually about her saving a bunch of other kids who are affected by the same thing. Kind of like how most Sentai monsters do when they like affect some people or like a town or like something like that. And of course, one of the Rangers or like all of them have to figure out how to defeat this creature of the day. So I'll give him that.
Anybody else?
Am I the only one that was kind of confused as to how she woke up from the dream? She was trying to avoid falling into that fiery pit, so how does she wake up? She jumps into said fiery pit.
Yeah, that was a little confusing.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Huh?
Riz, you want to say anything?
And then,
Unless Patrick.
of course Dan being annoying as per usual.
Yeah, this episode, I mean, it was an episode. It was interesting. I think actually I'm going to take back that earlier comment of sarcasm and say I agree with you, Nate. This was actually on the better side of what we watched. Even counting the last batch of episodes, honestly. Like it it gave a nugget, a small little minute nugget of May character development. So minute that it didn't really do anything for her, but the attempt was at least made for the first time. And I have to give that some kind of prop because that's where we are in this season.
And I want to say this, like, I don't like. Okay, I think Kimberly is a way better character, but I don't think you can really hate May. I mean, she's a cute character. She's hard to dislike.
Oh, no, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
She's cute, yeah.
Now, I do have this.
And the very thing I don't like about Zyuranger, she's the least thing I hate about Zyuranger. So that's one positive I don't want to say about it.
I think. Go ahead.
There is one problem I have with this, though. So the Zyuranger episode continuously insists that only May's Terra Arrow can defeat the monster. But then they defeat the monster, with the Howling Cannon exactly how they defeat every other monster. The funny thing is that the Power Rangers episode, despite not building it up anymore, they actually handle it better because in the Power Rangers episode, Kimberly uses her power bow to defeat. I think was the monster Snizzard in this episode. Yeah.
Yes.
She shoots the arrow at Snizzard, and that defeats Snizzard. Like the Rangers don't, or in the Power Blast, like the whole Power Blaster segment of the Zyuranger episode is cut. So it's Kimberly who defeats Snizzard by herself. Ironically enough, that ending works better in the Zyuranger episode. Why do you have to have the Howling Cannon thing? I just think that really it just robs from the idea that they're trying to make May seem like this really strong character because she needs the help of the other Zyurangers to finish off a monster.
Because that would be a defining character moment. We can't have that in this season.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
No, character development, we can't have that. We can't have her defeat a monster by herself. No,
I don't know if it was just due to timing restrictions or something on why Saban cut out the Power Blaster thing in the Mighty Morphin episode, but ironically enough, the Mighty Morphin episode ending works a lot better.
Yeah, because like they actually let Kimberly have the dub.
But I still like this the ending with the Howling Cannon really bugs me, but I'm still actually going to give this a 7. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop a 7 on this as well.
7.5 for me.
4.
Huh?
Patrick's gonna drop a 4, I think.
I'll give it a 5, probably.
Just because I said 4.
No, I was leaning towards 5 beforehand, actually.
All right.
Okay, next up we get the episode Becomes Small. Fun fact, this episode was actually adapted into a very infamous episode among Power Rangers fans. We'll talk about the Power Rangers. We're going to have to talk about the Power Rangers episode to some extent in this episode. But this episode is called Become Small, where this boy that gets bullied a lot by adults named Toshio, he befriends a dwarf who was rejected by Bandora, and basically Pleprecon wanted to hire someone to be his assistant, but Bandora didn't like the dwarf monster. So they use his magic to shrink objects down and trap them into jars, and one of the things that they shrink down is a car with Don and Boy inside. And this episode is entertaining in all the wrong ways, because after I finished watching this episode, I just thought, like, what the heck is this episode? Like, and the reason why this episode in Mighty Morphin was really infamous is because so in the Mighty Morphin episode, it's about like Trini revealing that she has a hobby like collecting dolls, and one of her favorite dolls is this dwarf thing, which gets adapted into the monster. His name is Mr. Tickle Sneezer, and the thing that makes it very infamous is the fact that at the end of the episode, everything that happened just turns out to be a dream that Trini was having. So a lot of people didn't really like that. But I can't blame them, because this episode just seems like so screwed up that I honestly can't really find a way on how Saban could have adapted this better, because, I mean, first of all, the adults are way too over the top. I mean, there's a part where both Toshio and the dwarf monster, they both grow together, which is something that we're going to talk about in a second. But there's a point where Toshio's Daijujin gets his god horn, and his mother is all like, "Yeah, punish him, Daijujin, punish him, punish him, punish him." And it's like, what? Are you calling for your kid to be beaten up by a giant robot? What is your problem?
Am I the only one that had the visual of Daijujin doing his finisher on the kid?
Yeah.
I had the same image in my head too.
I got a pretty good laugh out of that visual.
It was either that or him just trying to spank the freaking kid with the sword. Like,
He pins him
Like Kill
over
Bill
his
style.
leg.
I
Like
like
Kill Bill
character
style.
for Daijujin, though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be out of character
It
for
would be.
Daijujin.
And you know what's funny is that another reason why this is infamous in Power Rangers is because there's literally a shot in the Power Rangers episode where they use a shot where Toshio is standing behind Daijujin, and you can literally see him. Like, and they hold on him for like a good minute, for like a good second. So I don't understand why Saban thought that was an appropriate shot. Like, did he? That is one of the shots that doesn't translate into Power Rangers, where I really just honestly thought, like, Saban said, the kids are stupid, they won't notice it.
I noticed it.
I noticed it in my rewatch last month, and I thought that was kind of odd. And now that I've seen the Sentai footage, it's still odd.
It's also really funny. If you've seen the Mighty Morphin episode, you might know, like, the Megazord gets trapped in a bottle, and then they summon the Megazord sword, which, like, lands in the ground and releases them. in this point, after Daijujin gets released from the bottle, Toshio picks up the God Horn and is all like, "I'm gonna fight Daijujin!" Ah! And like,
It's just so stupid.
That was just odd. Okay, so my thoughts on this episode are: this is the best worst episode ever. Not because it's particularly good, but because it's so stupid I couldn't stop laughing at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So things
Pretty much.
keep happening, and it's like a train wreck. You know it's coming, but you can't look away. And honestly, it was interesting to see the kid turn into a monster of the week by association. But this is something I hope we never have to see again. One is enough.
I'm still gonna give it a 7 though, just because I find it entertaining. It's not good, but I still found myself laughing, so it did something right, if only just by accident.
Oh no, I'm gonna give it a 7 for the same reason. I just thought it was funny.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Yeah, same here.
You're giving it a 7 or a 6?
6.
Okay.
All right, so next up we move on to destroy the Dark Super Sword. This is a Goshi-centric episode, and I think Goshi plays a big enough part in this for us to actually fairly call it a Goshi episode. So Goshi befriends a cowardly boy and needs to teach him about courage because Pandora captures him on his 10th birthday to help him create this like sword that's invincible. A big thing is that we get some revelation on Goshi's backstory. He lost his parents as a child and was raised by his older sister Otome, and she got killed in the original battle with Pandora, so that's pretty cool. I actually I think it's a very cliched backstory, but I mean it's something with these Zyurangers, and I just have to grasp at straws with these characters. So I actually really like that. I think the big thing that we should address the elephant in the room in this episode. Yeah, sure.
You mean the mammoth sword in the room?
How did the other 4 Zyurangers teleport to the battle through the TV?
I was kind of wondering that myself, but I just kind of figured at this point, does it really matter?
Yeah, remember the whole plot convenience point I had up in arms about last episode? Yeah, here we go again. we need them at the battlefield to help Goshi out, even though it's his episode and he should be able to handle this on his own. But no, let's just have them somehow jump to the TV. Gosh.
I like what this episode does for Goshi. I mean, I think that the plot of like Goshi, like, you know, needing to learn, like, teach the kid courage does feel a little bit closer to home for Goshi. But I think the thing that really bogs this episode down for me is that I don't mind having the child here in this episode, since I think it's a catalyst for bringing up Goshi's backstory. But couldn't Goshi? So the way that they saved the day in this episode is that Dora Night Monster, or whatever he's called. He was called Nasty Knight in Power Rangers. It's pretty much the same in the Power Rangers episode. Like, this sword is like so powerful that like literally anything it strikes just gets destroyed, and it's frying all their weapons. But then apparently, like, the sword can't harm the person who made it, so they use Shigeru to get in the cockpit so that they can have him like restore the God Horn or something, and then defeat the Dora Knight. Like, I don't know, like, the show is trying to go the route of making Goshi like the intellect of a team. So couldn't you have come up with a better way to like have Goshi just figure out a way to defeat the monster? Because that's the route they go with in the Power Rangers episode. Now, it's really weird because they don't really explain much about how Zack's plan works, but it's at least something. I just wish that the Zyuranger episode did more with Goshi, and we don't have to have Shigeru play such a big part in the episode.
I mean, that's just a recurring complaint we're gonna have, is why doesn't the actual Zyuranger get to development instead of this one-off kid that we're never gonna see again?
Exactly.
But I mean, at least this episode gave us something akin to a backstory or some background info on one of them, which is more than what we've gotten up to this point anyway. So,
also, this is something that Riz kind of mentioned in our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode, but in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode adapted into this, they actually use footage of untransformed Goshi battling the Dora monster, but it actually works really good because they actually just say that like Goshi is one of Zordon's warriors. I actually really like that. I think that's one of the best uses of like untransformed Sentai Rangers footage in Power Rangers.
Yeah. It gives some possibility to say Sentai is loosely in canon with the Power Ranger universe, which I like. Because, you know, not to get on the Mighty Morphin topic here, but we can, because we're kind of almost at the end of this review season anyway. Review set. They, in the first season of Mighty Morphin, had immense trouble trying to learn how to adapt Sentai footage to make it American. And the fact that they were able to weave in Goshi into the viewing globe and show him fighting and say he's the warrior kind of gave... I have to give props there to the people who did that, because that was actually pretty clever.
I mean, the most common time I remember like untransformed people appearing is actually in a Time Ranger, where they'll frequently use footage of Eric's counterpart Naoto. But the funny thing is, they can actually get away with that because Eric looks a lot like his Sentai counterpart, and you'll see more of that when we review Time Ranger. But that's another conversation for another time. Yeah, I found this episode generally entertaining. I'll probably give it a... I know that I've given a lot of episodes this, but I'm actually going to give this one a 7 too.
I'm gonna give this a 6 because it didn't really do much for me, honestly. Like, I know Ghosty got something out of this, like in terms of development, but it didn't really resonate all that well to me.
I mean, I'm I'm fighting for scraps here, and this is one of the only episodes that's given us that. So I'm giving it a 6 just because they at least tried to give us some depth to the characters in some way.
Yeah.
I just wish that they let him handle the night himself. You know, just to make it come full circle for him or something, but can't have that. Not in this season anyway.
Nope.
Because I mean, at least Zach managed to have the idea of like stopping the monster in the Power
What are
Rangers
you going to
version.
give it,
So
Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
because I liked how the monster looked in both the Sentai and the Power Rangers season, I think I'm gonna give this a 7 as well.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I know we've not really been doing it that long, but here we are at the last episode we're going to review. Yeah. The Great Sneeze Plot. This is kind of a boy episode, and a spoiler alert, I think this is the worst episode of the batch that we're reviewing. So,
Yes.
in this episode, a young boy gets tricked by the latest Dora monster into helping him spread sneezing powder around the world, and boy is trying to stop him. This episode is just a mess, in my opinion. Like, it starts off with boy having like this fallout with the Zyurangers because they don't like his cooking, which that has zero, like, literally the only reason that fight happens is to just give boy an excuse to like run off in a huff and be next to the soccer stadium. Like, it literally has zero impact. And then we meet this arrogant kid who's mad that people don't appreciate his soccer skills. And how does that translate into a plot about a monster whose power is to make people sneeze? Like, I don't know. And the child of the day is annoying.
It doesn't.
Really arrogant, and he only just spontaneously just realizes, oh, hey, what I'm doing is wrong. Like, with no real... Like, it takes so little to convince this kid what he's doing is wrong, and it's... I don't know. This episode really irritated me, because, like, I don't know. It's just a mess, in my opinion.
This is the first episode where I wanted to reach through the screen and slap the kid.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
seriously.
That is the biggest criticism I will give this, because dear God, that kid ruined the episode for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little crap head, wasn't he?
As they said in the Mighty Morphin, he's a meanie doo-doo head. Taking a couple of different villain names and putting them together, basically. You get meanie doo-doo head.
Yeah, super mini doo-doo head.
Yeah. No, super mega
Now, I do want to say
force
this.
doo-doo head.
I do want to give a shout out to, like, the one good thing about this episode. Now, it's not good. Now, I do want to preface, it's not good enough to save the episode, but it's still something I do want to point out. I think the mecha battle of this one was actually one of the better ones. Because, so, to kind of point this out, they discovered that the weakness of the monster is water. So what they do is that they use the Jew mammoth's power to freeze him, and then they thaw him out, creating like a lot of water, which destroys him. So, in other words, they just let the individual guardian beasts do their thing to defeat the monster, a very creative way, and they don't try to force bringing out Daijujin. The Mighty Morphin episode still found an excuse to, like, bring out the Megazord. The reason why I like that is because I wish that Sentai did this a lot more, where instead of just always just finding a way to force out the big giant robot, like, can't we have a mecha battle every once in a while where, like, the individual mechs just do their thing and find a more creative way to destroy the monster? I just wish that was done a bit more often.
I think that's the problem you're going to see a lot until later seasons.
Because I can only
In
I
terms of,
can
like,
remember two other
quality of
times.
battle of mechs.
At least in the Alien Rangers episode, there was that episode where their battle Borgs defeat the monster that was made from the from that age restoration device that Billy made. And then I also remember in both Turbo and Car Ranger, the debut of the of those other mechs, the VRV or the Rescue Zords in Turbo. In their opening battle, they actually defeat the monster by themselves without combining into the Megazord form. So I just wish that they did that more often. So I actually really do like the mecha battle in this episode. That's not enough to save it, and that's why I'm giving it a 3.
And can we also just say how creepy this clown dude is?
Yeah, the clown in Mighty Morphin was nowhere near this creepy.
No. I mean, trust me, don't get me wrong. MPR one was like kind of like he was creepy, but not in like, but like more or less like in a sinister kind of way. Like, oh, let me go and take advantage, take this child and like away from Trini, and he had he almost kind of like he was, I don't know, like he tried to be playful, but then he also seemed sinister at the same time with that smile of his. So can't really describe it though. But here, this guy is just ugh. Especially with that when the balls, like they inflate in his stomach, and I don't know, it just seems weird.
Anybody else want to say anything?
No.
Yeah, Patrick.
I have nothing. This
gonna say,
this is forgettable as can be.
yeah, like honestly, that's gonna sound really, really bad. But not even 10 minutes before I hopped on here to begin podcasting, I had watched episode 16 of Zyuranger. That's why I was a little bit late. And I had to rely on your outline, which honestly there wasn't much to it, to really even remember that this episode existed. Because my brain told me we stopped at the Destroy the Dark Super Sword episode. And then when we started talking about this, I was like, oh yeah, that happened. So epitome of forgetfulness right there, Patrick. It didn't even take 10 minutes. But no, I'm gonna give this a 3 with Nate because
Yeah,
it was bad.
Ditto.
So I will say, huzzah, we got to the end.
Good, because we're gonna get to some better stuff next.
We don't really have to talk about
out of
the
the way first.
the villains because we don't really have much on the villains. Like I don't even remember the villains doing anything much in these episodes. I do want to ask.
The villains did a little bit.
Yeah.
The most notable thing was I learned that he's a vampire.
Is there any way we would
beyond that,
change
they were
our rankings
pretty much
of the G Rangers though? I'm mainly looking at you, Riz, as someone who's not seen the Sentai before.
May is at the top. Gosi, Boy, Geki's high for second. Dan's at the bottom. This is the exact same thing I told you last time.
I love how we're almost all in agreement that Dan's the worst one.
Well, okay, so let me kind of give you some more insight here into my thoughts. Dan was almost put on the same tier as the other three in this one because he was so forgettable and so in the background that he didn't honestly bug me that much this time. But looking at it between these episodes and the ones that came before it, Yeah, he's still a little bit below the rest of them. But there's nothing really character development going on here. The only reason May is still above everyone else is because she's cute. And I'm biased, so sue me. I'm sorry. I'm a guy and I think she's cute.
I mean, you're not the only one, so
But with that said, I know you're expecting it, all of you. So let's just get it out the way. I would take any of these 5 any day of the week over that godforsaken idiot from Geki Ranger named Zan.
No, I can't agree with that. I don't like Jean, but there's no way I can agree with that.
Okay, I would rather bland characters with no personality and no interesting backstory for 40 episodes than have to beat my head against the wall yelling at the TV about how much Zan sucks.
Well, I mean, I'm theoretically bashing my head against the wall watching these guys. Jean just made me roll my eyes. These guys are actively infuriating me with just how they're all cut out.
Well, okay, but how can you be infuriated at something that has no substance?
Because I see potential with these characters. Like, if they delve into their backstories and, like, well, I missed this about my homeland, or this was something that, you know, I'm fighting for because I promised somebody, and, you know, all this, the baggage of having to basically leave your whole life behind for a fight, you know, and everything like that. They just don't even bother scratching the surface with this stuff, and it's driving me insane that they're just the most bare bones people you could possibly put into a TV show.
Now, I will say, I have not seen anywhere near the number of Sentais Nathan has. I'm going to start by saying that. Mm-hmm. But I've seen my fair share at this point, with you guys and without you guys. And the best way I would ever describe Zyuranger up until this point to people who have never seen it is, imagine the most average episodes of any season not called Senkinzer and Gokai, because there's honestly not too many bad episodes there. And just think of the random filler crap that nobody really remembers 5 months later. And that's all Zyuranger is. It's random filler crap tied to cardboard cutout characters who we don't really care about. And that's what you get here. You just get an average season, in my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of potential missing. You know, I could have seen Geki being really good as a red. He could have been really good. I thought Goshi would be one of my favorite characters coming out of this thing. Because the way people talked about him online, I thought Goshi would be the GOAT. But he hasn't really done anything for me yet. And, you know, I walked into it expecting to not like Dan Boy, but honestly, there's not much to really like or dislike about them. I mean, yeah, Dan's a little annoying, but at least he makes me feel that. So, honestly, Nate, if I had to really give a better assessment of the characters, Dan probably is ranked higher than these 3 idiots, because he at least makes me feel irritated.
It's probably just my perspective of, if I see missed potential, it irritates me more than, like, bland characters who have no potential, or in the case of the Geki Ranger cast, characters that they kind of took advantage of their potential, but not really. Well, these guys just feel like missed opportunities. The essay, like there's a lot of interesting stuff here that they're just ignoring.
I would say that Ron from Geki Ranger is on par with these 5 in terms of character development.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like she had a more distinct personality than these guys. Granted, it wasn't handled very well, but at least there was something there.
I mean, there's a semblance of something here with these 5. It's just you have to dig deep to look at it. Deeper than you have to dig for Rand, but we're also only 15, 16 episodes into the thing. So maybe I'll see it differently by the end. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I would prefer boring, nondescript people who don't infuriate me. Because at least I can forget about it and move on. Like, I won't harp on Zyuranger in the future at this point and say how, oh, I hate this, I hate that, like how you do. Because it didn't leave an impression on me of, God, this is terrible crap. I can't believe I'm watching this. What the hell's wrong with Nathan and Anthony? Why are we doing this? Like, that was my entire thought process watching Geki Ranger. Here in Zyuranger, it's more of a, alright, it's here. Okay, cool, whoop-de-doo, we have kids. Oh, whoop-de-doo, we have more kids. The kids are getting more screen time than the actors. Cool, okay, whatever. It's still generic crap that doesn't really matter in 2 months from now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. It's just a matter of perspective. You prefer soulless husks over the annoying characters we got in the last Sentai. But me, it's just, man, I see so much potential with these guys, and it annoys me. Especially
Honestly,
when
they could have done so much with these guys. Like,
oh
I
yeah,
agree.
because remember when we were talking about Shinkenger and wanting to see the previous incarnations of the team? That whole rant and conversation we had when we were going over Shinkenger? That kind of looking back would help immensely here. What was the tribes like? What was the differences between the tribes?
You're talking about how the Shinkenger families were.
Yeah, like before.
Okay, now I'm with you.
Yeah, like all this stuff. And then how does it feed into them as people now, and the consequences of having to leave it behind to deal with.
And that still bugs me about Shinkenger. We didn't get that backstory.
Yeah, exactly. But
me.
Shinkenger though could live without that. This season
100%.
desperately needs just anything, and that's the kind of stuff that drives me up a wall when it comes to writing characters. And kind of skipping ahead a little bit into the season, Goshi, Mei, Dan, and Boy literally don't change from here on out. Geki actually has a character arc later in the season, and it actively makes him worse. Yeah, because of Brian. Nate and Anthony can attest to this. It makes Geki a worse character.
Oh yeah.
Somehow.
I mean, when we get there, I'll give you my opinion. But no, I definitely get it. But I think the reason I want Shinkenger backstory on that stuff versus I don't care if I get a backstory here or not is because Shinkenger made me feel something for their world.
Oh yeah.
It's all about the fact that while I spent most of the time calling Takaru hot garbage, but the rest of the story was phenomenal. Like, I loved, I liked watching it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn more about the world. I wanted more detail. I thought a spin-off where they have the old Shinken team from years ago as the main characters doing something would have been kind of cool to see.
Give us like one of those 10 years later-esque movies, but call it like, what?
50 years ago?
50 years earlier or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
As like a one-off movie or something? That would have been sick.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then that way you don't have to worry about getting the old cast back, because then you would just have somebody else take it over.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could even have I'm blanking on names right now, but the Gold Ranger kind of at his little movable cart thing, telling the stories of the past to some customers.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Genta would do that, wouldn't he?
But see, that's the point.
Yeah.
We did Thinkenzer how long ago? Like 6 months ago at this point?
Mm-hmm.
I still feel things for those characters, and I still fondly remember things about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
That I tell you, man, that's how I feel about it. Like I said,
And
I saw.
and even looking back, Nate, to Jetman, as much crap as I gave some of the characters, I still have some good memories of them, and I have some good impressions of them. Do I still have my issues with some of the things that happened? Hell yeah. But at least they tried to do something good. It just didn't work for me, you know? But here in Zyuranger, it's like they thought, okay, we did really well with Jetman. We have a formula that may work. Let's just freaking put things in and see what happens, and they're gonna eat it up because they love Sentai at this point. We have them on by the hooks.
And which is ironic because this season up to this point was a ratings disaster.
Yeah, it was.
Which leads into the story arc we're about to cover next episode. Which I'm gonna save the behind the scenes explanation for how this all came to when we get there. Because it's hilarious given how the best part of this show wasn't even originally in the script.
Anybody want to get? Do we want to give our closing thoughts on this Sentai? Just the podcast.
I think I already did.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just get to the part that matters already.
I just want to see Borai again.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about good characters in Zyuranger, here we go.
Are you ready for that, Riz?
Bry is the show stealer, man. I can't wait to get to these episodes.
Really?
Boy. No, because I don't care.
No, I mean, genuinely, coming from me who hates the season with a passion, this story arc is actually good, and Bry is actually.
Okay. Let me fix what I said and explain better.
Okay.
Yes, I'm excited to see how historically we got our first Sixth Ranger in Sentai. Am I excited for the next batch of episodes after what I've seen? Not really, because me being the person who's never seen this before, I'm walking in thinking, this is gonna be more of the same, you know? So I'm going in with low expectations and going to be pleasantly surprised, I think.
Yeah, I don't blame you for doing that. Even with the hype, I don't blame you for doing that. But
because knowing me, I might find a way to make it bad.
I mean, there's still some typical Zyuranger writing faults in it, but
yeah,
the pros outweigh the cons with this arc, especially given everything else around it.
Now here's a question. Now that we're at this point, would you guys prefer the Mighty Morphin episodes as a set up until this point in Mighty Morphin over the Zyuranger stuff?
Honestly, the more I think about it, I probably would, because, I mean, at least as far as the Mighty Morphin episodes that we've seen from here, like, sure, they may be, like, they may not all be the deepest personalities, but at least up until Green with Evil, we got the personalities of all the main 5 Rangers. Like, Jason's the fearless leader, Zach is a goofball, Billy is a nerdy and socially awkward but very intelligent guy, Kimberly's your typical girly girl, and Trini's a cool big sister. So, I mean, we really don't know anything else about these Zyurangers. So I would honestly have to say I prefer the Mighty Morphin episodes.
Yeah. I would agree with you that the Mighty Morphin does a much better job of characterization. Like, they don't develop much, but we know who they are as people. The one thing I think Zyuranger does do better is how the monsters are handled. because
Yeah.
all these monsters have been based off of actual creatures from European and American mythology or lore and stuff. Like, Snizzard's counterpart, I think, was based off of the snake from the Garden of Eden or something. That's why the golden apples and everything, and he's a snake, and yada yada. And they try to tie how they're defeated into the actual lore of these creatures and stuff. And it's a lot more interesting, but Mighty Morphin lost that stuff. They're just monsters that we have to blow up. But yeah, I think Mighty Morphin up to this point is just better.
Well, with that said, guys, we will jump into the actual good bits and pieces of this next time when we take a look at Burai's story arc. We definitely look forward to that. We thank you guys so much for taking the time to check us out here, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify or iTunes. We very much appreciate it. Remember, without you guys, we would not be able to do this, and we love you for that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below with some of your thoughts, especially if you have some different thoughts on Zyuranger. We'll be sure to give your commentary a shout out. We once again thank you guys so much for taking the time to check us out. We will be jumping into a very big landmark in Sentai history next time. We hope you guys will check us out for that. But until that time, we will see you later. You guys stay safe. We love you.